Okay, hi there guys, this is Wayne from TrueGuide Learning Center, and Alex is joining me today, and we are doing our annual parents meeting. Yay! Kom ons klap hande. We should have made an applause sign. Kom ons sê as Alex dit doen, then everybody goes. Just try and weer. With more enthusiasm.
There we go.
Because we might use this for marketing. Okay guys, so as much as like we are going to talk about the serious stuff, we do want to get you to understand the vibe of our school, because that's what it's about with kids. For us, it's like not building a school and then making them sit down and shut up all day, but it's about building a place where they just go crazy, they just explore. And as we cover this, you'll understand how we do that, but we're also going to do it in practical today. So I want all our parents to go and line up on the outside of the building in 10, 9, let's run, 8, there's going to be a penalty, 7, and you won't like it, 5, because you'll be up on the stage doing something, in 4, 3, 2, 1, dead, that was horrible.
Yes, it's pleasant.
Okay, so that's basically I wanted to speak about that first, and that's how we handle discipline in school. Because I mean, you walk through a mainstream school, and I come from a Kiro background where they've got like 4 pillars, and two of their 4 pillars are positive discipline and child friendliness. But then you walk through a Kiro school, and you're still hearing, sit down, shut up, sit down, shut up. And with us, it's like everything is a game. Everything is a game in class, everything works on a countdown, and we've got great discipline simply because of conformity. Because we've got new kids coming in, we've got quite a bunch of new parents, and the kids, we don't have to explain the discipline system to them, we don't have to punish them for everything, they simply conform because all the kids are trained like that. And that makes like a beautiful environment, because you'll know as a teacher, it's not like all teachers are horrible monsters, all of us have that one teacher. Raise your hand if you have that one teacher that believed in you or said something to you. Let's raise our hand. Anyone, a teacher, special teacher, like a man, hand off. So we all got that one teacher that kind of changed things for us. And I've realized that that's so much more important in teaching than pushing content. So that's why I did the little exercise here, just to show that you don't have to be mean to kids. Like if you're the parents, you have to be mean to them. We all know that, right? Because your own kids don't listen to you. But as a teacher or as a tutor or as anybody working with kids, if you use these types of strategies, they can run. And so in our school, that would mean go run outside, go around the balance beam for standing up in class. So that kid's expelling that energy. You disrupted the class and everybody's attention is there now. But it's all fun. And in education, if you get those endorphins pumping, that's when kids start learning. A kind leer nie, if they're sitting there and they're feeling like this or they're angry, they're not learning, they're not listening, they're not responding, they don't participate in education. So the first thing we fix when we get kids to our center is we make them participate, we make them do, we make them go for it. We really make them not just do just fitness in the oggende. We make them get into it. We really make them do their best, whilst also accommodating kids that might have this or that. Okay, so I think with that being said, ons kan hierdie uithaal. I didn't staple it or anything, so you can just flip the one behind the other. Okay, so this is basically what we also use for marketing, and you can see everything is screaming kids, 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 kids. And the whole thing's set up, you can see it's like a little gamer background map, and you've got your different nodes that you move from completing the one thing to another. And that's where we really play into children's psychology, because they take to video games, or whether it's classroom games, or if it's playing rotten egg or whatever it might be, they really take to games awesome. And if you do everything like that, they're just playing. We had kids come home and then mom's like, what did you learn at school today? And then he'll say, no mom, it's not that kind of school. but they've been doing literacy all day, like working in books, writing with pencils, doing things on a whiteboard, working with an abacus, working on computer applications, doing teamwork and stuff like that, but not experiencing it as education. And if I can think about an example, like imagine one kid goes to mainstream and is lining up in front of the door. So line up, keep quiet, sit down, keep quiet, take out your book, keep quiet, take out, write the heading, write the date, keep quiet, underline the heading and date, keep quiet, cut out this worksheet, keep quiet, paste in the worksheet, keep quiet, and then the teacher's going to speak for 10 minutes while they keep quiet, and then they quietly have to sit and do their work. So imagine that like 11 lessons or 9 lessons a day of that monotony of coming into a class, getting a piece of pen and paper, keeping quiet while the teacher does that thing. And what happens with that is, and take up in their mind, they're somewhere else. They're busy doing something else. They've got ideas. They are exploring. And whatever you're teaching is going in the one ear and out the other. And we know that's true because if you don't prep kids for the tests, they do horrible at the tests. So what do teachers do 2 weeks before the test? It's revision and cramming facts, or processes, or whatever the case may be. And then if you Google it, the internet will tell you kids forget 97% of everything they learn in only 3 days. So even if Google's wrong and if it's 60% in 6 weeks, it's still a horrible stat to think of. Like your kids going to school, they're sitting there cramming information, and 3 days later it's all gone. And now can you think, if you're writing, like let's say biology first, and you've got a sketch of the heart, and you've got a sketch of the cardiovascular system, or whatever it might be. And you're writing that, let's say, third, and by the time you're writing maths, which is 7th, if you give that kid the same biology test a couple of weeks later, their grades are going to drop from, let's say, 90% all the way down to 70, and you give it another year, and then it's going to drop all the way down to 40. So mainstream school, and I mean, we know that's true in South Africa, prepares kids for testing. That's what school is about. It prepares you for testing, because most important thing at the end of the term is what? Your kid's report card. And that's the first time you find out that your kid's struggling, when you get that report card. And this kids, I think you'll know, in working with us, like we deal with it daily. We will notify you, listen, the reading's not going that well, or this or that's not happening. And okay, moving on. All right, then over here on the right-hand side, you can see what your child's daily program is like. And if you take a look at the top, it says they're physicals, academic sessions, enrichment, STEM, and practicals. And those are basically the 5 categories or the 5 teaching methods we use to cover content in class. And you can go through that on your own time and just see what kids are doing every day. Okay, so then we can go to the next page. Okay, so I'm starting off with academics. If I didn't have to worry about education, academics would be at the back. Because we've learned through many years of teaching that academics is not your main focus. Building character should be your main focus. And if you build character, then academics takes care of itself. If you've got a kid that is diligent, that is hardworking, that is disciplined, great, and then also a kid that just goes for it, right? Then you've got a kid where you just kind of give them stuff and they knock it out the park. And we've seen it in our lab, like so much. Like when we started, we did a lot of paperwork and a couple of apps. And then the kids started getting through the day earlier. And then we added more paperwork and more paperwork. So at the end of the day, the kids would have like 16, 17 sections of paperwork in their files, and they just kept on doing great at it. And then that's when we started introducing all the physicals and stuff, because we said, what's the point of making these kids do all of this literacy work, and they're not getting that other type of stimulation that they need. All right, but let's go through academics, because it is quite important, and there'll be some stuff that you might have questions around, but we'd encourage you just come and speak to us personally, because like each child in our school is an individual and is treated as such. Not any single child is doing the same thing at our school. Some parents have told us, my kid's into this, so they added that. Some kids are into that, so we've added that, adjusted levels and all the rest of it. But broadly speaking, we said over here, guides assist parents in making best educational choices to prepare for the final years of high school. You'll know, like when you guys came and saw me for the first time, I obviously spoke to you about like grade 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. I used those specific words. And the reason is that we're prepping our kids for that. That's the main thing that we've got to do, because that's when they start, where accreditation starts mattering. So what you do from grade 1 to 9 practically doesn't matter. You can like wild school or unschool or homeschool or mainstream school or whatever people are calling it these days. And you just have to prep for 10, 11, 12, right? So as long as you've got your kids' literacy up there, you've got the character right, you've got the core maths sorted out, then you shouldn't have any problem. But that's the big thing that concerns us. And we'll have a follow-up meeting with all our parents that are in grade 6 all the way up to 12, because you really want to start making choices about your kids' career. Are they going to study in South Africa? Are they going to study abroad? Are they going to study online? Are they going to study online abroad? And so what we've introduced to our school now, because we've grown enough and we can make changes to our staff, is that Alex is moving into the position of branch manager and career guidance, which means she does that where she's working with you one-on-one with your child's curriculum, and that's one of her main concerns at school. So we've already, a bunch of our new parents have taken advantage of this, and even last year I spoke to many of our parents saying, listen, your kid's doing grade 3 this year, that's ridiculous, let's move up to grade 6. Or your kid's doing grade 2, is supposed to be doing grade 2 next year, let's not do that, let's move up to grade 3. Or we would have told you, like, your kids are genius in maths, let's boost their maths, and then we'll pull the literacy up after, or started with literacy, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, like I said, so we're concerned about this final years of high school, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how cool your learning center is or how fun and stuff like that. As a parent, I want to know that all 4 of my kids, with the 5th one on the way, joking, not yet. We're not trying yet, but ek dink in December gaan ons try vir nog enetjie, because I've got 4 girls and then I can get a boy, hopefully. We'll see.
Lemons work.
But I want to know when my kid finishes school, whether it's online, mainstream, or in a center, that my child's going to university, right? And also that they've got the option, like they want to be a policeman, but then when they get to grade 12, they want to be a fighter pilot, and so they need to be able to change. So we're not prepping your kids specifically to be a doctor and only following that path, and then he can't be a doctor, and then what do we do then? But it's to make sure that every child can get into university and study whatever they would like to study. Okay, next paragraph goes on to speaking about core maths and literacy. That's like number 1, guys. That's like number 1. Like, readers are leaders. And I mean, like, the more you get your kid into reading, the better they're going to do, especially at university. Like, if you take a look at the GEDs and the SATs and all of those types of curriculum, it's mainly focused around literacy, understanding literacy, being able to work with text, and being able to express yourself in a literal form. We'll get kids, they're in grade 1, they're talking about these science things that are crazy, but they can't put it down on paper, you bet? And so what's nice about how we teach is, like, in the foundation phase, we get them to explore all of that by using a computer and stuff. So you'll have a kid, they can't read, but they can still make a PowerPoint presentation by using Google Voice Assist, finding images, finding text, finding video, and learning by themselves. But at the end of the day, literacy, like, it can't be stressed enough. So every holiday, when mainstream has school holidays, we do a reading program with the kids. So then we replace our normal curriculum, and they're just doing reading. So that's reading by doing their files, reading by doing one-on-one with Alex, reading by doing one-on-one with Kayla. So we basically set up like a little drill type thing. And so they're doing reading in this way, and then they're doing reading in that way, and we assess all their reading skills. And then, as you know, if we pick up that your child is excelling at the grade level that he's at, then we put up their level for literacy, and then they can just increase from there. And I mean, also, we've got kids that are in grade 2, and they're reading Roald Dahl books, and they're reading Harry Potter books, grade 2. And then you've got kids that are in like grade 4 and 5, and they're not reading. They're not reading anything. There's a mission-based school. They kind of fumble through it and stuff like that. But there's such a big difference. And imagine a child in grade 1 and developing that love for reading, and that child reads books like crazy and gets to grade 12. And imagine a child that's only reading like continue, start, play, fire, and that sort of stuff, you know. So like, video game is a great way. Like, when I stand behind my kids, I'm like, what's it? So while they're playing Roblox, so they're actually reading the words to me at a grade 2 level. But I mean, guys, like, I can just like keep talking about this to really drive the point home that we got to get our kids to read. And I mean, they've literally got a PlayStation of reading on the computer with us. I think our youngest kids are using 4 different applications. So one might be a testing thing where it spits out grades, which is great. Another might be teaching them phonics at a really basic level. Another one might be more video game orientated, where they're getting that enjoyment and doing the reading. And some of them we use as like, it's a full story with questions that they have to answer. So they have to read the text and able to proceed. So just on the computer alone, you've got so much. I mean, if they ask you, can I do this, can I do that, can I do that? Then you're like, okay, cool, hit this for 15 minutes, hit that for 15 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Ja, kyk, hulle doen Afrikaans, doen ons mos 'n werkboek vir Afrikaans, so hulle lees in dit, en dan, jy sal onthou, daar's daai ander boeke wat hulle ook doen, en dit het, let me just address it in English, so with reading Afrikaans, we use workbooks, and some of the older workbooks, as they grow up, het lekker leesstukke in, so proper reading pieces with like pure Afrikaans, wat hulle ook kan oefen, and it's all comprehensions, so dat hy lees en antwoord, lees en antwoord, lees en antwoord. Okay, and then also on that, guys, it's like you don't have to do Afrikaans second language. We've got a kid in our school who's going to be doing Zulu, and like, I mean, they've changed, updated in South Africa, so your kid can do French and Spanish and whatever the case may be, all right? But I think our big emphasis on English, being that many of our kids are accessing their curriculums in English, might be doing GED or even in the South African, and especially if you're looking at studying online, you're probably going to get an English service provider, and you'll have Afrikaans as a second additional language. That being said, like, we started doing our Afrikaans and our English lessons at the same time. We used to have them split up, but now we're doing it at the same time. So we'll cover verbs, and then in Afrikaans werkwoorde, use examples of that, and then when they split up into groups, they'll do work at their own levels. And we've seen a tremendous increase in like English home language speakers, they're doing better in Afrikaans, and the other way around as well. Okay, then it carries on to say something to grant all students access to university, local or international, online or on campus. So especially with our follow-up meeting with the grade 6s, and then you'll work with Alex personally that will tell you like, okay, you're going to study in South Africa, so what we're going to do is like a CAPS curriculum, or I might do South Africa and UK or affiliated countries, so I'll look into a Cambridge curriculum or whatever the case may be. But we'll definitely make a one-on-one meeting. We've already been doing these this year and setting kids on the curriculum that they wanted. But like I said, we'll have a follow-up meeting for the older kids, and then also have a one-on-one appointment with parents. Okay, then we just have academic review is done once per term. That means like, so that's like a full review. I mean, every day, like, and that's the difference between mainstream and assessment and a test-based type school. We're working with your kid right there, and if you see right there that he's not able to do this English work, then the tutor pings me, I print out a level lower, we add that to the file, and then we go from there. So, like we're like, I'm so against testing, and I know we have to prepare our kids for that, right? So ons doen that, maar why not test them every single day with every single activity they do, and once they're struggling with something, fix it then. Instead of hitting you with a report card at the end of the term that tells you your child can't read or can't do maths. And so that's our approach differs. All right, then Wednesdays and Fridays are dedicated to humanities. We can read the rest at home. Enrichment, we are talking about that in just a minute, and life skills, we'll be talking about that in just a minute. All right, then it moves over to enrichment. So enrichment means anything like where instead of the teacher just talks to the kid and they do a worksheet, where you go deeper into it. So you play a video game about it, you do a project about it, you do a practical about it. You go on a field trip, you play simulator games, gamified applications using software programs, websites, video games, but then also just, you might be learning about farming and then taking the kids outside, planting seeds, playing a farming video game, building a farm in Minecraft. So it's where you move away from just like speaking and doing paperwork and taking them into a practical activity of some kind. And whether it's like doing a PowerPoint presentation, making a video, writing a song, just where you enrich that learning. And that also obviously helps with internalization. All right, so we can go to the next page. You can check out all the rest at home. Okay, then we're moving on to STEM. And STEM is for science, technology, engineering, and maths. Now, we use STEM to teach on humanities. So you use different applications and learn about history, geography, science, and economics. Let me not say too much about that. We would have spoken about this when you came to see the school. Kids would tell you what they're doing. And 90% of this is saved in the cloud. So it's either saved to the Microsoft account, it's saved to the G Suite account, or the video game applications, it's simply on the computer. So you can tell them like, hey, bring me your laptop, show me all this, show me all that. You can especially now tell the kids, show me rapid typing, show me Scratch, show me some of the homes you designed on Sweet Home, or whatever the case may be. And so the way we do this is we do one of them in a week cycle. So they'll do Scratch for an entire week, and then move on to Sweet Home, Incarnate, or Roblox, also depending on where curriculum's at, because some apps are better to use for some themes and such. But that's all the STEM apps they're learning, and they're getting great computer literacy skills off that, even at a really young age. And you'll see if you go through that, it's got tons for humanities, architecture, engineering, and design, and then at the bottom there, economics, entrepreneurship, business, higher maths, and also more humanities. Okay, then we can move on to the one that says Minecraft. Okay, so it says Minecraft is a compulsory app at our school. At first, we obviously just encouraged, like, vriendelijk verplig jou, we say in Afrikaans, jy weet. So we kind of like just encourage people to get Minecraft. We use it in schools, and hopefully your kid comes home and is like, oh, everyone's got Minecraft, ek het nie Minecraft nie. Okay, so hopefully your kids are nagging the hell out of you about that. Is it? Okay, ons sal werk met jou.
I'll sort it out
Ons sal
Monday.
werk met jou. Okay. So there's different versions of Minecraft, and you might have had this headache. And some of it's free, but it gives issues, obviously, because it's free and stuff. And then we use one that is kids can connect on a phone, a tablet, and a PC. So that's why we use that version, because it doesn't matter what device you're using.
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay, great. I didn't even know that. Thank you.
Pleasure.
But I mean, and like, you know, so I don't want to go too much into Minecraft, because then we'll end up like talking about Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and video gaming for the rest of the 40 minutes. And so I'll just kind of glance over it, guys. But I'll put up some videos on the group today that you can check out concerning Minecraft. It really is, can you imagine building anything you can imagine, being able to build it and being able to build it in a team, right? The kind of corporate training that gives a child where, like, I'm the team leader, you're the this department, you're the that department, you're the this department. And then the kids actually have to go into a world, gather natural resources, build machines to process those resources, use different types of tools, from stone tools all the way up to iron and diamond tools and stuff. And then just collaborating on that scale and being able to build whatever. So last year we did a world history tour with the kids. And we started with the hunter-gatherers, and then went through like the Indus Valley, and then Mesopotamia, and then Egypt, and then into Greece and Rome, and we did the Renaissance, and we did medieval times, and we did Palestine, and we did Timbuktu, which is in South African curriculum, and we did the golden age of piracy, and we did the Americas. So we really started at the beginning and worked all our way through. And how much richer do you think that learning is when they're doing it, than when they're the ones running around, hunting, gathering, living in a cave, living in a temporary shelter, using the hide, using the meat, building a little Khoi and Khoisan community and village, and working in unison to achieve that goal. And then you take it further, looking at medieval times, man, the kids love building those castles, and then learning about the defenses, learning about the culture, learning about the tools, learning about the minerals that they're using. So, like, when you think about Minecraft, it's really a way to immerse a child in a world that they're creating, and they're using the correct tools, they're using the correct minerals, they're mimicking the culture, they're mimicking the wildlife. So you've got history, geography, natural sciences, and economics all in one place, and all we need to do is guide the curriculum. And obviously, your little kids do it at their level, the medium kids do it at their level, and the older kids in Minecraft, you can put a book with a site reference in. So let's say I'm learning about biomes, which is another Minecraft thing we've done. Our kids go on Google, they read about biomes, they copy paste the text, they put it in a book in Minecraft, and then they put a site reference in there. And then we share the worlds with friends. So my friend can play through the world that I've just, and they see the signs that are telling them desert biome, Iceland's biome, whatever it might be, and then they can read the books, and our older kids are learning to do their own research, put site referencing in. And then, I mean, when it comes to the scientific method, which is like asking questions, hypothesizing, researching, developing, testing, and reporting. Like, if you're in a Kiro school, and even like the top Kiro schools, they've got such a huge emphasis in science on scientific method thinking, to the point where they don't push content in the subject area, or they've got the freedom not to do it. Many teachers just still push content. But where they do something called PBLs, and the kids have to come up with their own idea of making the world a better place. They've got to build a little model, they've got to test it. So they go through that whole scientific method, and that accounted for, like, I mean, in grade 5 and stuff, like 50% of their grades. You know, if you think about video gaming is the scientific method over and over and over again. And if we just get kids to snap and see, like, this video game is like real life, it just opens up, like, the quote I've got you at the bottom says, school teaches you how to memorize dots, true education should teach you how to connect them. Right? And that's what Minecraft does. It takes history and geography and biology and life sciences and sciences, and it puts it all in one space where we can do whatever we want. And, you know, if you think about scientific experiments, it's so cool when you actually have kids like mixing stuff and building stuff and going crazy. And a great place to do that is in Minecraft, because you can do anything in Minecraft. You can do anything in Minecraft. So they've got like a science desk in there where you start and you like try and teach a kid atoms and protons and neutrons, and try and teach a kid the periodic table and like what happens when compounds. Just try and teach a kid the difference between an element, which has lots of the same atoms, and the difference between a compound. Or try and teach a kid the difference between a compound and a mixture. It's like all French to them. And then you start with Minecraft, which has a science desk where the kid, like, you don't tell them what an atom is, you just tell them what an element is and you tell them to build it. So they add the protons, they add the neutrons, they add the electrons. And they're building atoms, and then they put lots of these atoms together, and they're starting to build elements like iron, like copper, like whatever else. And then they start using two different elements, and they start making compounds. And so by the time you cover this work in grade 9 science, they know it. It's not like you have to force those facts into their heads. It's their thing. It's their thing. Like Assassin's Creed is my thing, or like Need for Speed is my thing. You got kids that science is their thing, and then when they've got to balance those equations where you have to like transfer the electrons and stuff, it's not maths for them. It's not difficult for them. It's like, yeah, I can see it in my head. I can see like this atom doesn't look right. It's got too many electrons in it and stuff like that. So Minecraft doesn't achieve it by its own, because like if a kid just sits and plays Minecraft for hours on end, they'll build amazing stuff, and the creativity will flow and stuff, but you just have to drive it with education. I just want to use one more example. So I was teaching in school, and we were covering matter and materials, which is all about solids, liquids, gases, and how things do chemical bonding and all the rest of it. And I started with asking these kids, like, okay, so tell me what minerals we get in the world. And like deadly silence. And I'm like, okay, tell me what like stuff you find under the ground in Minecraft. They're so excited to answer you, and then like just keep talking about it and stuff. And so in Minecraft, you use dirt, you use cobblestone, you use iron, you use copper, you use diamonds, you use gold, dolomite, and just they keep
titanium.
using these words and telling you about it, and you're like, what are you talking about, But meanwhile, your child's studying geology at a really deep level, because in Minecraft, like, you start digging down and you find coal, and then you've got to dig down further to find iron, and to process your iron is different, and you've got to use stone to build a furnace, and then you use coal to power your furnace, and then you put the mixture of metal or iron and stone in there, and then you separate the mixture into iron, and then you use that iron to build tools so that you can dig more stuff and make better stuff. So it's like science, 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 science. It's so deep into science, and they're doing it every day, and we don't have to put a gun against their heads to do it. They beg you to do it, So that's so great. And harvesting Minecraft. Okay, I wanted to carry on about Minecraft for a while. I hope that everybody got it. If a kid doesn't have Minecraft, we're going to like really speak to them this week to go and annoy, like, okay, next one.
Every time you open your mouth, you say Minecraft.
That's like if you work at a mainstream school, the one thing that can really get you into trouble, if you preach to the kids and tell them, go and tell your mom and dad, because like the next time management is like, why are you telling the kids this? Okay, so practicals, good practicals would probably be adding like electrician in our school, adding plumbing in our school. We've started dabbling with technical drawings and stuff like that, but that's where we kind of want to move kids away from the classroom, give them some other skills that they can apply. So cognitive development, that's all like the fancy stuff. You read the words and then you're like, what are these people talking about? But that like overcross thinking type thing, or sequencing, or just critical thinking, lateral thinking, predictive thinking, problem solving, logic thinking, all that sort of stuff. So we do hand claps with our kids at school, and I mean every physical activity that you do with kids revitalizes their mind and gets them back into it. So, like teachers, like, this has been too long. Let's everybody on our feet. Everybody, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dead. And let's see the floss. So, that's an example. They call it pattern interrupt, and that's like when like everything is getting boring, and like for a kid it takes 2 minutes. It takes 2 minutes to be bored out of the mind of what this teacher's saying and already be somewhere else. So by doing this pattern interrupt, and that's like our entire day is like one big pattern interrupt, and we also teach kids like, let it go, let's go, move on to the next activity, we'll finish this up later. So all the time they're like drop and go, and working at a good rate. But anyways, cognitive development, so hand claps, that's like that sort of thing. And there's like a really difficult one where they go under and over and stuff like that. Memory games, you know, like whose kid has not recited the parts of speech poem to you yet? Whose kid has not recited the poem? You must ask him about it. Ask him about it. Tell them, say for Mama, the parts of speech poem, right? And so that's where we kind of do hacks into curriculum, where we program a kid's brain to know certain things so that when they get in curriculum, they blow it out the park. So the parts of speech poem goes...
Every name is called a noun, is field and found in the street and town, a place for a noun, the pronoun stand as he and she can clap their
Okay,
hands.
that's gonna. So, like, they all know it, man. And, like, we've got kids that are, like, really young. Like, one mom, like, 3-year-old old. We've got a 3-year-old in our school. So that's like a little creche kid. And we were doubtful about this, but I thought, okay, Maddie's around, so she'll just play with Maddie in between doing school and stuff like. But she's full on doing school. She's like 3, turning 4 this year, full on doing school and rocking it. Like the staff came up to me, it's like, the child's brilliant, blah blah blah. She's already this and already that. So like, we hope the child stays enrolled with us, like up to grade 2 or something, because then we can really use that child for marketing and be like, hey. But
you know who you are, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm scared to call names,
no names,
later
no names.
I'll just use Jimmy and Sally or whatever. But yeah, just great stuff with the memory games. They're learning the periodic table off by heart, okay, which is insane. They use that song, hydrogen and helium, but the pictures are coming up, and some things they say sodium for salty times or neon, something with a light. So the kids are like starting to make connections with this. They're seeing the pictures every day. They're coding this into their brain. And I mean, how many? 315, 316 elements on the periodic table. Imagine, even by the time your child's in grade 5, knowing all the elements on the periodic table. And then we just teach them. So the number that it is in the periodic table also signifies the number of, and that's how you can work out the atoms and the protons and the neutrons. So again, tying into what they're doing in Minecraft, no lere liki, they know the elements. They kind of have a link between this is like for salt and this is like for neon lighting and this is used for like or whatever. And by the time they cover it in curriculum, it's like it makes sense to them. It's not like you come in a class. I mean, I was like that at school. They were carrying on about stuff. I was just, what are these people saying? I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get school, you know?
Like, honestly, those are things like when I was in matric doing physical science, I was completely lost and I was just cramming the work just to get the good marks. But now, doing the memory games with them, actually learning each name, what it's for, all that type of things, it's helped me understand things that I didn't understand in matric, which I wrote exam about. So,
and even as a teacher, like teaching, like I got a job at a place and I was teaching grade 10 to 12 and I'm not qualified for it and I've never done it before in my life, and I was like, am I going to work with these kids, you know, and teens with their cell phones and their headphones, you know, you used to drive past the high school and I was like, what did he finish? But then I started working there, and you know what I did? Floors, Simon Says, and it worked beautifully, you know, and so with this memory game stuff, like I didn't understand protons, neutrons, I didn't understand how to do the chemical transfers and stuff like that. And so like I found out Minecraft does it, and so I did it with my class in Minecraft, and now boom, like I understand this stuff, like I know it, I can tell you a compound, I can tell you a mixture, and all die verskillende goedjies wat daarmee saamgaan. Alright, so that's memory games or cognitive development. That happens every morning and during the day as well. Then communication, we do public speaking, debate, interpersonal communication is a big thing with us, like conflict resolution. But we'll talk about that when we get to discipline. ASL is American Sign Language. Also just like a cool practical skill to know. You know, your kid's going to walk out of our school knowing Afrikaans, English and ASL. En daar's iets anders wat ons ook aan gewerk het in terme van language. Oh, mime. You know, they do mime at school so they can express emotions and read body language and stuff. And then character development, we do a lot of emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, self-mastery, leadership and responsibility. So self-mastery is like all this, like fold your arms in 3, 2, 1. Like, and then we go dead. Let's try again. Fold your arms in 3, 2, 1. And then we go dead. Fold your arms in 3, 2, 1. So like we keep doing that until everybody does it. And so the idea behind self-mastery is like when we're doing fitness, or when we're doing Zumba dancing, or when we're doing Tai Chi or Tai Bo or karate or obstacle course, we always try and get kids to like really go for it and like practice self-mastery. And, you know, we've got the like quiet time thing where we listen to like a guided meditation. So that too, like we expect the kids like, maak jou oogies toe, sit still, hou lekker awesome, kalmeer jou hartjie, and like really listen to what's happening, you know. And that it's such a good skill to practice with kids. Like you can go and research the benefits of meditation, and we don't do deep Eastern philosophy, clearing your mind type, ascending and being God type meditation. If that's your thing, right? We've got parents in our school that their kids listen to Christian meditations, and I'm sure we might have different parents that practice it in some other way. But just after having a whole day of like running, jumping, climbing, building, reading, writing, drawing, whatever it might be, having that 10 minutes to just settle down and really practice self-mastery, where I'm putting myself in control of this. I'm not just letting it go crazy all day long. I'm putting, and that we practice like with all our activities, you know, like if they're doing fitness or if they're doing Taobao or something, we really expect them to like try hard at it, put yourself behind it, like, and practice self-mastery. And that also then ties into discipline, obviously. Okay, health and safety, we covered like basic first aid thing, fire safety, water safety, because we got the pool, and then emergency training. And that's basically also, like when they've got awareness of those types of things, then they also assist in the discipline of the school. So if like a kid runs around the pool, it's not only a staff member that's going to tell them to cut it out, but like many kids are going to be like, okay, cut it out. And then survivalist skills, making a fire, purifying water, building a shelter, making a weapon. We've made quite a number of weapons at school. Yeah, and we're having a bunch of fun with that, because I mean that just like ties into the video gaming thing again, you know. And yeah, no headshots. That's the only rule at school. Okay, then we can move on to physicals. So also, I mean, and yeah, let me like maybe do this right now. So there's this girl, and she's in school, and I always tell the story as if it's real, so I presume that it's real. Laat ek dit gaan vir die kamera ook, okay?
There you go.
Okay. So she's like a normal kid, you know, she's not too naughty or anything like that. And so the one day they do drawing, and she's rather into drawing, and so she sits at the back of the class and she grabs the colors and she starts going nuts. And as teachers do, she starts walking through the class and checking out the kids' work, and she gets to this girl, and she's like, oh, okay, that looks good, what is it? And the girl says, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher says, but nobody knows what God looks like. And so the girl says, they will in a minute. And that's like, you hear it the first time, and like the snorks, ne? But I'm telling you, like when I tell that story, and I've been telling that story since I saw it the first time. I've been telling it in Kiro's and in Radley's and government schools and Afrikaans and Praia. I've been telling that story. It's so profound. It's so profound, because here you've got a kid sitting in school, right? She's got the energy, she's got the potential, she's ready to go, right? And she starts drawing God, like, which is the most crazy thing you could try and draw. Most crazy thing you could probably try and draw is try and draw God. And then the teacher's like, you can't do that. The teacher's essentially telling her, you can't do that, right? So where's this child aiming at? Say, skit freestyle. She's like really aiming at the stars, and the teacher's like, you can't do that. And then the kids reply saying like, is it watch me, you know? That's so profound for us. So when I talk about physicals and stuff like that, at school I did some rugby, I did some soccer, I was never like a sports star or whatever. But we've got kids that are like that. This is another story, somebody else told this, I can't remember the YouTube video, like if I find, some of it already have, some of it I'll send out to you guys. Also a parent brought into school, listen, your daughter can't sit still, the mom takes the daughter to a psychologist or whatever. That guy has the sense to listen and to observe and not just to administer. And he walks out and he tells the mom, listen, there's nothing wrong with your child, she's just a dancer. Mom has the sense to pull the kid out of school, put her in a dance academy, and she's written, I don't know which shows, but like already Broadway shows that this child has written and performed, and she blew it out. She like literally changed the world based on this. And so when I talk about physicals and stuff like that, we don't just like, ons doen nie net karate by die skool en is like, okay, almal gaan speel, teachers are on their phones and stuff like that. This is the eerste thing, one of the first things we tell our parents when they our new staff is like, you got to encourage. And I like did a school trip when I was like young, this thing where you counsel kids on a beach thing, and there was this dude and he like just stood there and he went like, nice. And at that age I was like young, so ek was nie so vocal geweest nie. But like I just checked out this guy, and from him I picked that up, and now like in school, like we all the time, like nice, mooi die enetjie, mooi daai enetjie, daai enetjie skrik wakker, nice. So a new staff come in, and the first thing we tell them is like, you got to start saying nice. And now they're doing it. Daar's enetjie wat nog bietjie stil is, maar ons sal haar wakker skrik. And so morning fitness push-up challenges, like you should see the push-up challenge thing. We'll do like a TrueGuide's Got Talent thing at the end of the year, so like we're all training now and stuff like that, and we'll still get to all that stuff. Dance and movement we do tons, martial arts we do tons, team sports and classroom games we do tons, and then as you know, like we keep introducing new stuff, so ons het nou hierdie during our third week, we introduced shooting range, right? But did your kids tell you about that? I'm sure. And then Nathan is all right. But it's so cool for the kids, and like we use it as a teaching opportunity. It's not just like, hey guys, grab a gun, go shoot some stuff, let's get back in class. We did the whole gun training, gun safety thing, a little klein Google keys, and so Alex took the kids outside, and she was like, okay, you don't pick up the gun until I tell you to. Okay, when we pick up a gun, we always point it forward. This is how you check your magazine. It's called a magazine. This is how it goes back into talking to them about like all that stuff. So hulle leer van dit, and now this well, I don't want to say year, but like for a season, we'll be doing warfare. So we'll be going over all the cultures that we did in the past, where we mainly paid attention on like architecture, building materials, and tools people used. And now we're going to start looking at conflict. So like even with the hunter-gatherers, you know, the Khoikhoi het gaan skape steel by die sun, or the other way around, and then the Dutch came and colonized, and so the Dutch used the Khoikhoi in warfare, and then I think it was like the British were like for enslaving them, and the Dutch were like against it, so they joined with the Dutch, and all around us interesting facts, you know, and we're going to go through the whole of history again building, but now putting the emphasis on that, you know, and then that speaks to like, you know, just the development of tools and development of technology. That's like solid technology, where you start with a bow and an arrow and you work your way up to a gun, and then automatic rifles, and then talking about the nuclear bomb and all the impact that would have had on the world. But like, so even when we do physicals, we teach on it and then do the physical. If they play that game where they're building a farm, we teach about rural communities, and then they play the game about the farm. Okay. And then team sports and stuff, and obviously there's like so much awesome stuff coming just around the corner. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Wellbeing, health and safety. So with that, guys, I'm just going to say this. Look, I've worked in mainstream for 20 years, and I like know policy, and I know procedure, and I know child safety, and especially when you have your own kids. Jy weet as jy, let me just fly up every single time. But you know, like when I have a braai at my house and we're braaiing by the pool, is it soos 50% van my aandag is op die braai, but the other 50% is dedicated to my kids. So if my child falls in the pool, before their chin hits the water, is ek daar. Like, and so that's what you need with people working with kids. You know, I've worked at by Kiro, then this child's doing something ridiculous, then the staff are standing there chatting, and then you're thinking like, that child's going to blow his own face off. Why isn't this a problem? So we conscientize staff on that, and that I've got, I can so dankbaar for Alex, because Alex is like that. She's got a brain like me, and that's also like, we're really working together now, like driving this and getting ideas and putting things out and such, because we just really like, we almost speak from one mouth, you know. Anything I think, like she tells me that, or when she talks to you guys, there's nothing Alex has told you that like doesn't make sense to me, you know. And if it doesn't make sense, actually like what? And she says it's because of this and that, and then it does make sense. So with well-being, health and safety, you can just read through that, but we always have eyeballs on the kids. They're not allowed to be by themselves. We've got eyeballs on the devices. And then also we've got many parents in our community, and that's so great. Like maybe I should like spend some time talking about cell phones that have that mommy parenting app type thing. So if something happens on your kid's phone, you get notified, right? And so you'll know in dealing with us with regards to discipline and that sort of stuff, that we just talk openly, you know. So if a mom busts a kid, they let me know, and then I'm like, which kids were involved, and then they tell me, and then I'm like on the phone with every single parent. The problem with cell phones is it's different to a laptop, even though you can use WhatsApp web and stuff like that on a laptop. A phone is different because a phone is like this mind, you understand? It's not public like that. So like in school, we've tried stuff like, okay, if you work on your phone, you've got to put it down like that. But like trying to do stuff like this on your phone also doesn't work. So Alex, actually on Monday,
yes.
Now we're like taking in the phones in the morning and putting it somewhere, right? Because one kid, like we walked in, he was on his phone and he did this. So we want to know what's going on there, but I don't want no part of that. Guys, I was working at Kiro and I was head of discipline over 1,000 kids. And you know where the issues start, where the real issues start? Grade 7, when parents start sticking a phone in their hand. Now your kid might be responsible enough to use a phone, in which case that is the best way to go. Because taking this away from them is only going to work until what age? 16, 17, 18, 19? At some stage they're going to have this. And that can get them into a lot of trouble. The big thing we teach kids at school is, like, you are self-incriminating. As jy iets doen op your phone, everything you write on it, everything you do on it, every app you're downloading, you're making evidence against yourself, right? And you might say, cool, my mom doesn't check my phone, but Johnny's mom does check his phone. And so now you're on a WhatsApp group and you're still going to get busted. So we make a big thing out of that. And like with regards to cell phones, guys, we can't control it because, I mean, They come to school, they swap numbers, they go home, and whatever happens, happens. But when we become aware of it, we notify all the parents that might have a kid on there. We speak to the kids often about not being on WhatsApp groups, especially groups. Because, like, let's say I'm the admin of a group, put a friend on there, they invite other friends. Later on, you've got like teens on there, you've got people in their 20s on there, you've got like who knows who's on that group with your kids, you know. And then, I was looking at that Kira, a grade 4 child took nude selfies of herself and was sending it around at school. Thank God the kid that she sent it to was like naughty, and I get along best with the like crazy kids. And so he reported it to me. And like that same morning, we did like so much damage control at that Kiro, because it was like, if this gets out, if this gets in the papers, and it's Kiro, it's going to be fabulous. So like we just rounding up kids and like, stop by city fee net out. So that's a grade 4 sharing what? Nude selfies? No, that is a grade 4 sharing child pornography on a group, which now means like 40 kids are now in possession of child pornography, which is a serious offense. You check what I'm saying, guys? Cell phones. They check your kid's cell phone, like you take it, you read just what you want. Don't let them put passwords on it and stuff like that. Anyways, moving on. School discipline, like I said, guys, so, you know, it's so natural, and especially in the teaching environment, to have that mainstream vibe where it's like you expect kids to sit down and to keep quiet. You expect kids, like when it's a work session, to not move around and things like that. So sometimes, like, you know, that's the biggest part of mentorship that I do with staff. Alex worked with me for, I think, say 3 to 6 months, where I kept on handing over, and I don't want to speak for Alex, but you just talk to after school. Jy weet, as hy kan 'n aggressiewe persoon wees, you know. So like, we call it a rage meter in school, right? So as kids tick you off as the day go on, your rage meter, and then we'll tell kids, guys, my rage meter is like this. And that's the biggest part of staff development. Just, you know, like that whole thing I said at the beginning, like you don't need to scream, you don't need to shout, you can just play a game. You can tell the kid, run around something. You can be like, okay, everybody close your eyes, let's listen to what sounds we hear. You can be like, do the floss, stand on your chair, let's do Simon Says. We've got so many of those strategies in place. And then also you'll see it says with well-being, it speaks to the well-being of the staff. Because like if you teach you working at a school and you're getting a tremendous amount of pressure on you because of your admin, you're getting a tremendous amount of pressure because of parents, you're getting a tremendous amount of pressure because of the kids. Who are you going to take it out on? Jy's gesluit, you locked in that class with those kids all day, that mood, that emotion and stuff, that's going to spill down into your class. So like our staff can take a time out whenever they need it, you know. If you feel like, I'm working in this class and I've got 3 kids asking me a question on how to do something, the answer would be, see you guys later, you know. And then another tutor covers for them. That Kayla steps in if we have more of a situation, Alex steps in. If we have more of a situation, I step in. But it means the staff that work with kids always have the opportunity to just go or take the kids outside, go do a different activity, do like one of these brain interrupt things with them or whatever. And also, we've got a self-policing society at our school. Because, I mean, you can stand on a playground right next to a kid, and the rule is no headshots, and I can reg hier langs jou staan en 'n ander kind in die geslag staan. That can happen, guys, like in a minute, you know. And so we teach kids to self-police, right? So to be rats, right? Something happens wrong in the school, you run to a teacher and you tell them. If there's a group of 5 and one person does something wrong, and they don't report, all 5 of them are in trouble. So we've got a self-policing thing going, and that applies to me, like Alex police mate. I'll tell Alex, like, you know, you got to watch out for this and that for me, because I'll just come in that school, make all those kids go crazy and leave. When our school just started, Maddie was like really young, and she'd run around butt naked all over the place, you know, and that's something we needed to address. And then, so like we've got checks and balances in place with our staff, so they check that, like, because especially like being a dad and my kids being in the school, you know, you don't want to create a vibe where it's like Danny and Ava speel lekker buite met Maddie, but everybody's working and things, and you kind of look over it. So I've got people watching me, and like parents, like, yes, I'll bet if you're one of those mommies where I tell you, like, keep moaning about everything, tell me everything. I've got parents in our school that are like, I tell them purposefully, please bitch about everything that's wrong in the school, because if you tell me about it and you've got the courage to say something about it, then we can deal with it. And I'm telling you, we've caught so many small little things that it goes over our heads because we're working in that situation every single day. But you as a parent notice it because you've got a different experience, because where we're there, you drop off and pick up. Where we're there, or maybe like we're working with some kind of language thing with your child and you pick up on something. Like whatever it is, if you let us know about it, and you'll know from experience, like I try and really get to it that same day or the very next day or that week if it's a bigger project, or might slip through the cracks, and that's what I always say in my messages on the groups, like, I think we've done all our commitments. If we've missed out on anything, please send us a reminder again. And we really like, I've been trained like failure as feedback. Like when you mess something up, you go to a person, you tell them, this is what I messed up. And then, like even when we mess up at school, like I phone a parent, I'll be like, hey, we just did this, my bad, we're going to do this to try and sort it out. I hope it's all good. We have spoken to the child, etc., etc. And that's like the main thing with our school is transparency, so that when a parent comes in, we tell them like, this is us, this is how we do things, and come and speak to us and be open and honest about it. And I mean, it really makes a world of difference when you have a parent group that collaborates with you and catches all those little things that we might drop. Okay, but that's health and safety, school discipline, positive discipline strategies, a self-policing environment, getting our staff to feel calm and positive. Like you'll know Alex, Sophia said, when she started working there, I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay? Voel jy kalm, voel jy positief, voel jy rustig. And then after the day is done, she always reports to me. And I'm like, first question, like we've got a strategy in a class where number one is classroom organization. Means bags are where they're supposed to be, laptops are where they're supposed to be, the laptop chargers go through the little holes, no one's going to trip and fall and go crazy. And then second thing is called classroom management. That's where we basically make sure that our staff are fine, they're not feeling under pressure, we've got a positive vibe, we've got excitement going, kids are feeling okay, kids aren't fighting with each other, we don't have a kid that looks angry, we don't have a kid that looks sad, we don't have a kid that's hungry, we don't have a kid that is thirsty. So they can drink water, if they need a snack they can go and eat, if they need a time out, if we see a kid's upset. And that's why also having a tutor in each class and having 2 floor managers basically means Alex is available to your child to pull your child out and be like, hey, what's up, dude? And then, you get the craziest things that kids would tell you, and it's not like even a serious thing, but in their mind,
it's the end of the world.
It's the only thing they need to get done today. So everything you're doing at school, you're wasting your time with. So first we need to deal with that, and then boom, we've got the education space to move. So that's common positive tutors. We don't really have conflicts arising between tutors, but then also we'd like to speak about it openly. We'd even have stuff like if a teacher loses a temper, then I'll go into class, so Alex will go into class and be like, hey, teacher, what's up? And the teacher in front of all the kids says like, well, this was happening and that was going on. And then we're like, hey, kid, what's up? And the kids was like, okay, well, I was disrupting this kid because I was like, you needed to show me something or whatever, yeah. And then we do staff or conflict resolution in front of all the kids. We're like, Alex is speaking openly, the child is speaking openly, and the whole atmosphere is like that. If I mess something up, if a tutor messes something up, if a kid messes something up, and everybody leaves with a pat on the back, feeling great about it and having learned all of those communication skills. Also, if you have conflict between peers, I mean, it's not a case of like we just tell them shut up or cut it out. It's like those iets aan die gang daarso, let's call them out. Take the kids outside. What's happening? He says his story. He says his story. The tutor mediates. They return to class, and then we keep an eye on them and make sure that the conflict has actually been dealt with and isn't persisting. And then, if it's a case like siblings, oftentimes have it boetie and sissy, they're at each other's throats and stuff like that. So there you might use a strategy of like, when we do group work, let's split them up. Or when we do group work, let's force them to work together. Bind hulle hande aan mekaar vas of iets is that, just like force them into that. And also with group work, oftentimes that works miracles. If you've got cliques forming in your school, it's never healthy. It might be a clique of like really cool kids and stuff like that, but once you have that like exclusivity thing going, they just start applying it to everything in life. So then we mix up the groups, So those two that aren't usually friends, let's try and build a connection. We do like speed dating at our school, where we set up like all the little ottomans, and kids like move from one to the other, and then they've got to ask 3 questions like, what's your favorite superhero, what's your favorite food, or whatever the case may be. So we've got like grade 7s talking to our grade 1s and forming that bond. We've got kids from different culturals and different ethnicities, different interests, and all of that, all speaking with one another, So you can imagine grade 7 Afrikaans kids speaking to grade 1 kid that's got like, let's say, I don't even want to say Zulu or Tswana, because I mean it can go so much deeper when you think about religion and all the differences people actually can have. And what happens is then you form bonds between all these kids, so all of them stick up for each other's rights, all of them are looking out for one another, and it just enforces that whole idea of self-policing. Okay, so it just ends up there saying everyone feels valued and respected. And I think even if you check in with new staff, they'll tell you that. They'll tell you like it's like these people worry about us, which is great. Okay, then some exciting stuff for next year, and we've been sitting on this, and I'm sure parents have heard it through the grapevine and stuff, but we decided to get another venue for various different reasons. The first being the granny next door that keeps freaking out about everything. We had, the way we dealt with that is like, obviously I went and spoke with them and I was like, okay, cool, we're going to keep the school a little bit more quiet and we'll make sure we keep to our break times, like so you know when the noise is coming and all that sort of stuff. But none of that worked, and then we had a thing called Code Blue, where like if the
Code Blue is.
if the granny propped over the wall, we all like Code Blue, Code Blue, Code Blue, boom. Everybody just runs inside and does something inside. None of which worked, needless to say.
I had to go apologize.
Yeah, so we started looking at new venues, and obviously first thing I want to say, it's going to be in our local area, because I mean the last thing you want to do is now have to drive to Sandton or whatever the case. We have put in an offer on the place, and it's fabulous. It's really fabulous. It's got 3 times the amount of floor space, so that's already really terrific, and it means like, so when we've got rainy days, we can still do all of the physical activities without it bothering us. Still has a swimming pool, because that's like fundamental in our school. You know, once we introduce the swimming, just like having kids pop in there, boom, refresh, come back to school, second session, piece of cake. It's not like you're working with a tired kid like you would in mainstream. Yeah, also nice big field and stuff like that. But then the most beautiful thing is it's adjacent to the Cliffendale Nature Reserve, which is where we took the kids on the first field trip. So it's literally the house, 2 houses, Cliffendale Amphitheatre. So we could walk from school to the amphitheatre and start doing stuff over there. The little stickers you see on there, that's like ecological programs that they do. So you'll see like Creepy Crawly Walk, Gold Mine Tour, Wildflower Walk, and that sort of stuff. And that's actually done by a tutor. And look, the way we'll have to play it is you'd have to pay for it, but we'd go to them, we'll say, like, number one, we're a whole school. And then they also do community service. So, like, you can go and then help out, which I think is great for kids, you know. At school, like, we ask them to clean up or whatever. They just jump. I don't know at home if you've got problems with them. But at school, they, like, really work well with us. And so we really want to bring the community service thing in. And so we'll negotiate with these guys. We'll get better prices because of being in our school. Our school, we'll subsidize something towards it. But then we'll look at like where the pricing ends. And we might end up saying something like, okay, if you want to do the ecological program for all our old clients, which would be everyone right here, it's only going to be like 100 Rand a month. And that's going to give them 12 field trips a year. So that means every month they'll be going on a short little field trip. It's not going to cost you anything extra with regards to lunch. It's not going to cost you on transport, and your child will be able to like participate in all these different things. And then we'll start doing a termly thing where we go off campus and go and do something like at a science lab or whatever it might be. And then we want to look at doing one annually, which would be like a weekend away type thing. And we've got somebody that we're collaborating with this, and it would also be like a leadership growing experience rather than just going away for a weekend and having fun. But all those things we'll roll out to you guys. And I mean, considering costs, you know, if you've been with us for a while, we don't do stationery, we don't do, you don't have to pay for textbooks, you don't have to pay for uniforms and all that stuff. We really try and absorb all the costs of the school, because when we started, we said like we want a one-stop place, like where you stop, you do everything, and that's the end of it. Okay, so that's coming next year, and we'll keep you guys updated on the venue. We'll know by the 15th, and like we're able to do that like, you know, we can open a school over a weekend. Like if you tell me you want a TrueGuide center at your house, I'll come on Saturday, Monday you'll be ready to go, you'll have everything that you need. So the move is going to be quite, you know, there'll be like a couple of kinks that we need to figure out with procedure and stuff. 2 weeks down the line, everything's going to work the way it should. Okay, and then I just want to end with this, where I said my vision. All right, so it says there Mozart, Einstein, the Wright brothers. It's supposed to be a capital W. We are aware of that. We have already worked on the problem. Our technicians are sorting that out. Oprah, Shakespeare, they started somewhere. He picked up an instrument. He dropped out of school. They had too much time on their hands. She talked too much, and he talked funny. Something happened, and the world was changed forever. One can only imagine how many adults and teachers told them to stop making so much noise, to sit still,
That was our excuse.
to quit daydreaming, to keep quiet, and to stop talking like that. That's like, I mean, that tears me up, because like, you know, I guess I'm passionate about my wife, I'm passionate about my kids, and I'm passionate about education, and I didn't want to be a teacher when I grew up. But, you know, I read that, like, and it's also from a video I watched, and like, so imagine you got this teacher, and Shakespeare's like, thee, thou, thus, they, and the teacher's like, stop talking like that. Like Shakespeare, here's like, okay, so she's older and she's a teacher, but that person is telling Shakespeare to stop talking like that. Blows your mind, and that's what's That's my problem with education. That's what's going on in schools. Like, kids are being told to sit down, to shut up, to keep quiet, to not put their leg behind their head. And we had that in our school. We're busy, we're teaching a lesson, everybody is with us, and this kid goes like, chup, right? Normal school, stop doing that, get out, write you in a detention file. Our school, let's see who everybody else can put their head on their leg. And so the whole class is like trying to do that.
Meer reg gekry as wat ons gedink het, eerlik.
But you know what I mean? I mean, you know, I did the story, like, and it's a made-up story, but it works well, so I keep doing it. Like, so this guy's driving to work in one of these, like, old school cars way back when, and he sees these two guys, and they're, like, jumping off the cliff and flapping their arms. And he's like, what? And he laughs, and he goes home, and he tells his wife the story. And the next day, they, like, built these, like, wooden things, and they're jumping off, and they're falling them, and it's, like, snot and blood everywhere and stuff like. And this guy goes home, and he tells his wife. And, like, this keeps going on for a couple of weeks, and next thing, those guys are taking off and flying into the sky, you bet? So we're driving past there, and we're telling those kids, like, knock it off, stop doing that, don't, like, moenie my makeup gebruik om it, don't use my makeup, don't use my tools and stuff like that. But, like, wat sê jy vir daai kind? What are you actually saying to the child? So, like, when I grew up, at some stage, my dad was working for the Air Force, and he took us to the Air Force base, right? And so we got to see the planes up close, and they used to take us to the air shows and stuff. And like some point in my life, I realized, like, I want to be a fighter pilot. You know, it was a Top Gun gekyk when we were little. We watched it several times. My brother was like obsessed with it, so obviously I watched it a lot. And then I think the combination of watching that video and then going to the Air Force base and seeing the air shows and stuff like that, I was like, I want to be a fighter pilot. When I grow up, I want to be a fighter pilot. And, you know, like, even today, I'm like super into cars. I'm not like one of those car geeks that knows all the names and numbers and models and stuff like that. But like, you know, these old school Ford Mustang type cars, they're reproducing them now. Like, I love that idea of like sitting in a car and going, ah, and hearing that engine, you know, and like pulling away, and the rubber's brand and the smoke's going everywhere, and just feeling that amount of power. And when I was a kid, like, say, grade 5, 6 or whatever, you know, when you begin consciousness kry, like, I wanted to be a fighter pilot because I thought, like, those stealth jets you get, you know, those black ones that you can't fit your laptop in there because they're that flat. I just thought, like, growing up, that's what I want to do for a living. Ek wil agter een van daai vliegtuie sit. I want that joystick in my hand, and I just imagine, like, pulling that thing forward and blasting off with this insane speed, ripping it up and, like, soaring up into the sky as high as you can imagine, and then bringing it down, doing a nosedive, and then whoosh, leveling out and flying into the horizon. That's what I did with my life. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And so the first person I spoke to said, you can't do that in South Africa, dude. And I'm like, why? And he's like, so like the military and now the government's been taken over, so like everything's going to go to crap, and like the plane won't work, and there'd just be like nothing. There'd be like nothing. And so then that kind of like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can like go to the US and do it because I'm in Top Guns in the US. They got better planes and stuff like that. I'm up for that. And so you keep sharing your dream with somebody, and then somebody told me, no, but like you got to be like great at maths. You got to be like super at maths. And at that age, being in grade 6 and stuff like that, you can reflect, and you do know what your maths is like, and you do realize your grades on your report card and stuff like that. And I was like, maths, I'm never going to be able to do this. Yeah.
So guys, the moral of the story is, as we're growing up, everyone tells us you can't do it. You're not going to make it. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. And that's what we teach your children. If you want to do it, you can. They might not reach the stars, but they're going to be in space. At the end of the day, it's more we keep telling them, you can do this. Even though we all know in our hearts they can't. Because we all know our children. You know, sorry, I'm saying our children like they're mine as well, but I've adopted all of your children, sorry, hey? The thing is, we all know what they're capable of. But the more you tell them they can't, they're not going to do anything then. Because if you tell them you can't, they're at the end of the point, they're like, what can I do then? What am I good enough for? And then you're sitting with kids that have anxiety and they can't make decisions, they can't do anything in life because everyone in life telling them they're not good enough. But they are. At the end of the day, if they try their very, 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 very best.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay, so,
anyway.
Yeah, guys, and I gave up on that dream. So now I'm a teacher, but I'm flying the crap out of this machine. I'm flying the crap out of this machine, guys. I'm telling you, like, people will come to me and say, like, yo, we can hear your passion. That's it. That's all what ek wil hê. That's all I want. That's all I want. Like, hear my passion. Just hear my passion, guys. Like I'm telling you, when it comes to my wife, number one, my kinders, number two, and education, number three. The word education is derived from the Latin word educe, which means to draw forth or to bring out. So like that doesn't happen in normal schools. It doesn't happen in normal schools. It's not like draw forth and bring out. It's like, let's take you, let's stuff you in this box. I was working at an entrepreneurial school, and the principal of that school, and we were like an entrepreneurship school, like built around entrepreneurship. It was bought by entrepreneurial incubator. So that's what they do. They fuel entrepreneurship. And I was sitting in that school, and it started all being like pencil pushing and stuff like that. And the principal used the words, we just got to squeeze them into that mold. And I was like, you're the principal of the school. This is an entrepreneurship school, and you're talking to me about squeezing people into a mold. And shortly after, dus ek wag vir daai skool. Every kid has potential, and every kid has energy, and every kid has something they're good at or they're into something. Like you all know, your kids are obsessed with this one thing, right? Whether it's dinosaurs or whatever the case may be.
Dinosaurs.
Jy kan dalk 'n video gee vir my so op die groep sit. Okay, and I said, what would happen instead of telling them to cut it out? We told them to flap and go for it. Imagine finding what you love and then having someone honing your skills, crafting your educational path, and getting you into that career. So like maybe if I was in grade 6 in TrueGuide, then the guy would have been like, dude, maths is easy. Maths is a piece of cake. Maths is like a puzzle. Maths is like magic, dude. You just learn a couple of things and boom, all of a sudden you got maths. Don't worry about maths and being a pilot. Like, let's do this, then let's also get you a simulator for flying aircraft, and then let's also make you do a presentation on it and make you do this. And so like really getting you like into it, and then figuring out what course you need to do, which university you can go and study at, and where you can do like an internship while you're on your way there. Having worked at schools for many years, we're certainly not a place cramming facts into short-term memory for good test scores. We get the grades you need without doing that. Like I'm telling you guys, you don't need to do mainstream schooling. You don't need to do mainstream schooling. You don't have to follow curriculum. We follow curriculum, right? We follow curriculum because we know that's what parents want, you know. But you don't need to do that. You simply need to unlock that child's potential and then let them get at it. Let them get at their literacy. Let them get at whatever. Whatever we're doing at school, if we can get your child to read, right, to love reading, they'll excel a lot more. Hands down, hands down. You get your kid to develop a love for reading and practice it from whatever grade they are in now, all the way up to grade 12. Doesn't matter what we're doing at school, this child will excel more in life than the kids over here. So obviously at school we try and boost reading and stuff like that, but like I'm saying, it's about character. There's nothing standardized about us here. Each child is themselves, and as parent, guidance, scholar, we bring out the passion for participating. That's like, I mean, kids sitting there, keeping their arms crossed, not engaging, not participating. That's when they don't learn. It's like when they don't get their hands dirty. Learning, doing and exploring, preparing for successful tertiary studies. So obviously academics remains at the heart of what we're doing, and we need to make sure all these kids have exemption to get into university. The difference between being a content-driven approach and as opposed to a research-driven approach. So, and guys, I'm not downing mainstream because I mean there's great mainstream schools and there's amazing teachers in there. And this is just my own, like how I experienced it, I suppose. More, you know, like, so you go to a class and a teacher says something, she's up in the front for 10 minutes, you have no idea what she's saying. I'm busy with this kid over here, I'm busy playing like Assassin's Creed in my head and figuring out what I'm going to do when I get home. And then when the teacher says, get started, you're like, with what? Get started with what? And, you know, when it's research driven, they don't have that. They don't have that because they are the one, like if you can't do that because like I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm doing hunter-gatherers. If I don't watch a video, if I don't Google it, if I don't read a website, if I don't look at images, I can't do the PowerPoint. If I can't do the PowerPoint, I can't give feedback to the class. If I can't get feedback to the class, then we can't move on to the next phase and build the Minecraft world type thing. So where they can just block you out as a teacher, teaching like this means like they're not blocking themselves out, they're doing it, they're learning like that, you know, and they, you know, they say like when you get taught something, you're like this good at it, but when you're the one teaching it, that's when you like excel and start mastering it, you know, and that's what we're trying to get our kids to do, where they go, they figure it out, and like we're at a stage now where we can walk into school and tell the kids, okay, sleep, insomnia, go, and they'll tell us what it is. We can tell our kids, cash in transit vehicles. Some kid got obsessed with that for a moment, and we're like, okay, cash in transit vehicles, go, and now we know everything about that. So we invite parents to truly collaborate with us in building an environment where excellent academics, again guys, excellent academics is rooted in character development, exploration and self-development. Because like I said, if you've got a kid, they could be the smartest kid at school, you give them a drug habit, an alcohol problem, or a really horrible girlfriend, that intelligence is going nowhere. But you give that kid character to block out like all of those temptations and the peer pressure, not being lazy, getting to things like when mom speaks once, go and put away your shoes. You like jump up, you grab your shoes, you run, you come and, you understand what I'm saying? Like it's all about building that character. So let's allow kids to dream big and then do everything we can to help them reach it. And yeah, let's make some noise. So what our parents meeting was about today, I mean, we don't really want to like deal with like this and this and this and this and this type thing, because we do that daily. We do that daily. Like if you have an issue, walk in, say for what you caught, and we'll accommodate you because we can. Like with the amount of staff we have right now, like Daar's te min om te doen. There's like not enough to do, but that gives us so much time to like pull kids out and be like, this kid's in grade 2, the reading is not where it's supposed to be. Okay, this teacher's going to take this kids from 7 in the morning and do reading with them. So we've got all our kids coming in. As soon as they walk in class, we do one-on-one reading with all the kids that come early in the mornings. Then the ones that we pick up later in the day, Sikkelmiddag, Dalk pick him at Wiskunde or whatever, we've got that staff available to do one-on-ones with the kids. And we use a great strategy because we like let staff work half days, so it saves us on our budget, and at the same time we're getting all of that manpower. We're so fortunate, and it feels like we're really attracting positivity this year, or a blessing, or whatever you might call it. But every single person that's working there now is like studying to be a teacher. They just finished their high school grade 10, 11, 12. Grades look great, and we also compliments are like, I've got maths strong people, I've got literacy strong people, and so we really have a great community going forward. And I think also like with regards to like the business side of things, because I mean it doesn't matter, I'm doing all this, the business crashes and burns, and I'm like, hey guys, you got to find a new school type thing. So the business is also doing like really well, and I mean you'll just know like by posts and like dealing with us and stuff, like all that money is just going right back into the school. Like when we started there, Corneille was like our first client, right? And so we had to sell Corneille before we had proof of concept. We just kind of like had this little idea and stuff like that, and he entrusted his son to us. And from when Nathan walked in there and the stuff we've done up until now, you've had the things we've corrected, the infrastructure we've put in place, like jazzing up the playground, jazzing up the pool and all that sort of stuff. That just really makes a difference, you know, and then you have kids that have like all these different activities to choose from. They're learning about all these things and they're really ingrained like in the culture of our school. But I think that's basically it for now. We won't do questions, like we'll just hang around and like if you've got something to come and say, because I mean we're all already over time right now. But I hope that we really shared this dream and this vision with you guys. And I mean going forward, we're just going to get stronger. We're just going to do better. And that's not only like with the enrichment and practicals and extracurriculars, but specifically with regards to academics and with regards to reading. I mean we can't do enough, and that's also a main reason for getting parents here today is like, it is a collaboration. It is a collaboration as much as we're a service provider or whatever. You need to collaborate with us with regards to your child, collaborate with us with regards to our community. We've had moms sending us books to school about like an emotional intelligence thing or something, and then we flip through it and we're learning from that and we apply it in our school. Or we've got parents sending us content like quickies that you can outprint and stick in the files, and then we find some amazing stuff and we add that into our school. And we've always got the time for it, because I mean we don't have that like bell ringing and moving from one class to another class. And I mean we've got a whole week, or we can do things in a 2-week cycle and really get to everything. So I think the end of it all would be like, you know, go home, read this, right, and then really think about education in a different way, and think like, okay, but you know, how can we really build into these kids and develop those characters we need to succeed in primary school, to succeed in high school, to succeed in the tertiary studies, and then also going forward. We would like to ask you guys at Jolly Link uitgestuur. Look, I've never asked anyone to review us, because I feel like the proof is in the pudding, you know, actions speak louder than words, or it needs to be proof of concept. So Alex is going to send a link out now. It'll go out on the parent group, and if you guys just could give us a review, and like obviously this whole thing was also a marketing ploy, but if you would do us the favor of writing one hell of a review, so that other people can also see what we're doing, because we're not just doing this one school. Like guys, like you know, when I feel like I've beaten education is like when I'm like the Oprah Winfrey level, and I don't want the glory and the stuff like that. That Alex can with the public deal, but we want to change education, because like there's so many kids sitting behind a desk in a Yershon or Dia or in a Rurapert Hoërskool or in a Kira or whatever, and they're sitting there, they're not participating, they've got all this emotional stuff that they're dealing with, and they call it education. They call it education. Well, for daai kind, it's not education, it's a prison camp. It's a prison camp because I'm dressed the same as everybody else. No one is paying me any attention. I'm just being told to shut up and sit down and go away all the time. Bowels are directing where I should go and when I should pee and when I should eat and stuff like that. For those kids, it's a prison camp, and it doesn't need to be like that. You can free your kid from that. And once you understand also the difference between homeschooling and legislation and the freedom you actually have with your child's education versus what happens to mainstream, I mean, just something worth noting before we end is get a kid, they come to us, mainstream just failed them in grade 6. We're like, okay, never mind about that. Kom ons sit hulle op graad 7. Boom, we get that kids on grade 7. Like, so we've got quite a number of people where kids are coming from mainstream. This kid doesn't like maths. 3 weeks later, I love maths. We've got this kid can't read. Nobody can teach this kid to read. We'll do it in 6 weeks. Stuff like that, you know. And that's really what we want to like take out into the world. We've got like an online platform where people can already start teaching like this, but we really want to like do something incredible, something really incredible, whether it's like online classes or whether it's like a print and play type system at home, whether it's franchising or whatever the case may be. We really want to like create a space where kids can come and be who they are, and then people like just throwing gasoline on that fire instead of just telling them to shut up and sit down. Yeah. Okay, I think that's done. Parents at home, thank you for joining us, and see you later.